list. It has definitely not gotten better, not even close. Seattle, Washington. It's down to 6. It's been 1. It's been 2. It's just that some places got even worse. So I made the joke that the dating pool in the Pacific Northwest is made up of socially awkward men, aggravated women, and rainwater. Except that's not a joke. That's really what it is. The first part of connecting with someone is to notice them. Well, in Seattle, it's hard to see and notice each other when you're squinting all the time to keep the rain out of your eyes. And people in Seattle, they don't carry umbrellas because they like to pretend that it doesn't rain that much so they can justify living in such a terrible place that rains that much. So you're dealing with a bunch of guys wearing REI and girls wearing ugly raincoats, and they have water-drenched hair and runny makeup. I mean, maybe you're really hot, but how can I ever tell? So recognizing a problem is always the first step to solving it. Seattle never recognizes its problems. You go to Seattle, and we're there a lot, and no matter what the problem is, their answer is always the same. Ugh, the traffic sucks here. Oh, that's because of Amazon. Really? There's a lot of homeless people here. Amazon. Seattle Mariners, they kind of suck. Blame Amazon. It's bizarre. It's insane. That's like an answer. Everything blames Amazon, which I have no idea how that affects the day-to-day life of people in Seattle other than they have access to Amazon. And Amazon generates a lot of money for the community. You should thank Amazon, Seattle. Amazon and Starbucks and Microsoft, they made Seattle matter. Nope, they blame him in Seattle. And that's why you don't get dates, Seattle. Number 5. We're up, down to number 5, I'm not sure. Another 2-time loser on this list, Denver, Colorado. And trust me, Denver has not gotten any better. The craft beer bros and the burlap-clad wannabe life coaches, they will still bore you to death if you even get to have a conversation with them. As I've said before, Denver is Wichita with a mountain range. It lacks culture. It lacks personality. It lacks a sense of humor. The thin air and the clouds of pot, they've stifled everybody's brain in a way of thinking. And Denver is a place that did a really good job of renovating its downtown and creating an environment that at least could be vibrant, and then they spent a decade ruining it. It's hard to date someone when you're chasing them up a hiking hill. That's the social scene in Denver. Oh, you're like, oh, wait, what are you talking about? I heard a lot of people move to Denver. Trust me, you don't want to date any of those people. Oh, no, wait, I also heard it's nicknamed Menver. Isn't that where I should go to find a guy? It's called Menver because the men in Denver like to hang around with groups of other men. It's like a gay club with no sex. It's like a military barracks if you took all their balls away. Denver is bizarre and lifeless and pointless, and it's number 5 on our list of the 10 worst cities to find love for 2022. Number 4, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, another former winner on this list. We have a lot of former winners on this list because we've been doing this list a long time. It's like the 8th or 9th year of this. So Philadelphia, terrible still, trust me. So it's number 4. It's been number 1, but it's number 4. I mean, Cheese Whiz and marinara sauce is not cuisine. A Michael Vick jersey is not high fashion. And lots of major cities have 80 blocks that are nice and 5 blocks that you kind of want to stay away from. Philly has 5 blocks of nice and 80 you want to stay away from. But the biggest problem with Philly, besides the fact that the men there still think that you're such an asshole, is actually a compliment. They pride themselves in that. It is that Philadelphia has the most stagnant pool of people of any major city in America. I mean, Boston has its issues for sure, but young professionals move there all the time. College kids graduate and stay there, and those college kids are from all over the world. And there are people from every part of the country who settle there and decide to stick around and who take jobs there. Not Philly. Nobody ever moves to Philly, and no one ever leaves. In Philly, when they talk about where'd you go to school, they don't mean college. They mean high school. Because that, to them, tells them everything they need to know about you, your family, and your life. Because nothing ever changes. Not for you, not for them, not for that city. It's a place that clings to the 1770s and the 1970s. And nothing ever changes or improves or gets anywhere. It's stale. It's gray. It's dull. And they use they say John, have you ever heard that? JAWN, to describe everything. Did you know that? If you've never been to Philadelphia? John, they use as this all-purpose noun that they essentially substitute for any other noun. I'm with this John. Did you get that, John? Go over to this John. It's because nothing there really merits any other interesting description. Like, we're just going to call it that because everything is that. It's a city without adjectives. It's cold. It's dead. And dating is all about adjectives and interesting nouns and variety and personality. And it doesn't have any of those. And Philadelphia, our fourth worst city to find love for 2022. Number 3, we're getting closer. Can you feel the excitement? Number 3 is Houston, Texas. Houston is about the only thing about Texas that is dull. Texas is awesome. Houston is not. And Houston is the largest city in Texas by quite a wide margin. And by far its least interesting place. If we played Family Feud, and who hosts Family Feud now? Steve Harvey? And he said, name a city in Texas. Top 10 Texas cities on the board. Name one. When would you even name Houston? It's the biggest one. But you'd probably say being Dallas or Austin or San Antonio before Houston even enters your mind. Which is crazy for the biggest city in the state. But it's big and it's sprawling and it's irrelevant. And everybody there is either from there or doesn't want to be there. They're transferred there, and they can't wait to be sent somewhere else. It's oil executives like, oh, my God, I got to put 2 years in Houston before they send me to Dubai. It's a tire fire under a rubber fire under an oil rig. Even its beaches, if you go to the beach, you go to Galveston, you go to the beaches in Texas, the sand is filled, it's the color and the consistency of concrete and tar. It's awful. You can feel the diabetes kicking in from the moment you enter any restaurant. It's all around you. It's inherent. It's cultural. It's unhappy. It's unhealthy. Is that the pool you want to date in? Did I paint a good picture for you, Houston singles? And it's not that it's just the largest city in Texas. It's the 4th largest city by population and the 3rd largest major city by area in America. Did you even know that? Do you even think about that? Or about Houston at all? It doesn't enter the conversation because it doesn't deserve to be a part of the conversation. It's really hard to be a city that large and to still have nothing to do and no one to do it with. But that's Houston. Houston is the old joke, there's no there there. It's about 1,000 degrees there, 120% humidity, with the only escape being Applebee's and some filthy beaches and a 50-year-old mall. It's really hard to be in Texas and still not be fun. That's Houston. And that's the dating scene in Houston. You want to be part of that? You want to swim in that pool? It's a city without style, culture, or apparently Pilates classes. So don't have any of those things in Houston. All right. We're getting close. So number 2 and number 1 on this list, they share the same, they're kicking around the same corner of America. They share the same part of the world. They are adjacent, and they get lumped together in a lot of ways. And they are lumped together on this list because when it comes to dating, they're both just so dreadful. And we were tempted to call them 1A and 1B, but number 1 is so bad, it had to sort of stand alone. It had to be alone in its own awfulness. So let's start with number 2. And number 2 is San Jose, Silicon Valley. A place with so much money and so many people who wish they could take that money and move somewhere else, which many of them are actually doing. Hello, Austin, Elon Musk. Ladies, you want to know the part of the country with the best proportion of college-educated men who you believe you want to date? San Jose, California. Ladies, do you want to know how many of those same college-educated men in San Jose you actually want to date? Almost none. The men in San Jose, they were the guys who never got laid, and now they feel entitled to your time and attention because they made low 6 figures last year. And then if you give them time and attention, you're sharing that attention with the latest video game and the most realistic porn and a giant stack of comic books. It's tough to compete when you're not as hot as him as his collection of anime. And guys, Silicon Valleyers, the ladies aren't better. Why should you look good for him? He doesn't impress me with his job. Mine is better. What are you looking at my hair that way? Bangs are always in season. San Jose people live in one of the best weather and most beautiful regions in America, and yet no one wants to go outside. And you talk about people who aren't happy at their jobs. A lot of the people are like, oh my God, I want to work at Apple. I want to work at Facebook. I want to work at one of these giant Google. I want to work at them. The people who work there don't want to work at those places. They don't. They want to work at the next Apple, the next Google. So they always want next. You want to date somebody who's always thinking about next, the next thing, bigger, better deal. That's what they do. You talk about people who are buried in their devices. These people want to be buried with their devices because that's their true love. And the social scene there is some creepy VCs and it's networking events with no fun or flirtation. It's who do you know and who's hiring and did you hear who got a promotion and did you sign up for the 10K? That's it. There's no laughter in Silicon Valley. There's no sex in Silicon Valley. There's no hope for dating in Silicon Valley. You want chemistry? You want to find chemistry? Take out your periodic table because I know you have one. Probably in your wallet, guys and gals in San Jose. But San Jose is not the worst city we have. And San Jose, I mostly put the burden on the men. The men are the problem in San Jose, not the problem with number one as much. And we all share in the blame here. But we do have a new number one on this list. And this is a city that has been circling the drain on these lists for us for, 6 or 7 years. But it's never quite gotten over the top. It's never gotten to number one. And now it has. Can we have a drum roll? We cannot have a drum roll. No drum rolls. This is not morning radio. No drum rolls. San Francisco, California. We go all over the world. And we go to a lot of places pretty consistently for our live shows for the Great Love Debate. We haven't been back to San Francisco since 2016. Do you know why? Because it's a lost case and it's getting loster. Do I think San Francisco is the most beautiful city in America? I do. It is. Is it still a great place to visit if you've never been? No question. Most of the time. Don't step on that needle. Anyway, but if you ever get a date there, can you whisk her off to Napa for a romantic weekend? Is that a good idea? It is. Napa's amazing. It's close by. But that's the problem. You're not going to get a date in San Francisco to take to Napa. She's not interested in you. So when the women have twice as much masculine energy, which they do there, they think they're twice as good as you, which they do there, and they're probably twice as angry about twice as many things as they really need to be, it's not a good crop. It's not a good crop to date. You want to hold the door for her, dudes? You want to be chivalrous? Good luck with her ensuing speech on how she isn't weak and can hold her own fucking door, because you're going to get that. Because that happens there. You want to make a restaurant suggestion? Have fun listening to her answer how she doesn't want to be mansplained to by your suggestion. That happens there. You want to approach her at a coffee shop? Enjoy having her scold you for singling her out as a victim of otherism. Otherism, which is a real thing there. By approaching her, it means you found her to be somewhat different. Not like the others. And that makes her a victim. That's San Francisco. There's your San Francisco trait. And in most cities and scenarios where this is a general problem, where sort of this wave of woke and the angry fire of feminism has washed over an entire community, I usually say, guys, grow some balls, step up, be confident, too bad, go for it. But not in San Francisco. She doesn't want to grab your big Bay Area balls. She wants to chop them off and throw them off the Golden Gate Bridge. Oh, wait, what are you saying? Is that laughter I hear down by the water? Nope, just seals. Hungry seals. That's the sound. There's no laughter in San Francisco.